hey there. I, Sam Valentino, private toon detective, want to make a correction about my previous vlog. Warner Bros. Discovery isn't exactly up for sale, like I might have said in a previous vlog. One of my followers gave me a hot tip that it was just a consideration Warner Bros. Discovery is going through right now. But in light of those unsolicited buyout offers from corporations like Comcast, NBC Universal, Netflix, Paramount, Skydance, Amazon, and even Apple, they're actually initiating a review of strategic alternatives to that, so they could still go forward with the Warner Bros. And Discovery global split they planned months ago. Being unsolicited offers, by law, Warner has to take all options to their shareholders as a publicly traded company. Additionally, Warner Bros. Discovery managed to make a lot of money this year, like I said, with box office smashes that totaled up to over $4 billion. Apparently, that David Zaslav mug is starting to improve the studio's theatrical movie release modus operandi. What with Warner Bros. Discovery planning and splitting up to maximize shareholder value.
Well, that's good to know. I'm glad in a way David Zaslav is starting to see the light.
Indeed, Daffy. Like his having already rejected Paramount Skydance's bids to buy the company 3 times now. In addition to the sum amount, Zaslav even seems to know it would be a bad idea the way they'd undermine the studio and its libraries. And the Writers Guild are also backing him, saying such a merger will be disastrous and it'd change so many management and other job positions. Now, Apple chose to buy the Warner Bros. Studio and streaming and library assets. They'd likely retain everyone's positions, since, of course, Apple is a huge computer company. One that especially dominates the creativity and multimedia production computer market, mind you. Why else do you think this channel owner regularly uses Apple products?
Well, there's also this big beefy Dell he uses for Windows-related purposes. That's a cross-platform user, as he's told me that's the key to being a successful computer technician.
Yes, but let's not derail the main subject of this vlog. Anyways, I read that Comcast and Netflix are both preparing to offer to buy Warner Bros. Discovery, even though one of Netflix's CEOs has already said a couple times now they may not be interested in Warner Bros. And as for Warner's strategic alternatives, they need to adapt to a competitive and evolving industry. And again, to commit to thoroughly evaluating all options to deliver value to shareholders. And Warner Bros. Discovery did emphasize that what they're doing may very likely not result in such a buyout. On the one hand, this will be good, as Warner Bros. Discovery is already one of the corporate media giants, even if they are planning to split up, which should be finalized next April. And there are already a bunch of other big mergers anyways, recently with other companies. But Warner Bros. Discovery also plans to further limit disclosures about these processes for the time being.
Wow, all those big words are confusing me.
I'm a little confused as well, Daffy. But as I keep up my snooping, things start to get clearer to me. So to repeat, Warner Bros. Discovery did not really put themselves up for sale. So I kind of apologize for my previous vlog. I just got quite a bit on my mind right now. Especially for Apocalypse and other expenses and then my birthday coming up. Plus, even if I'm Toontown's greatest private detective, I'm not entirely perfect. But this is still different from when any hoods deceive and belittle us, like Zaslav and HBO Max did back in early 2023, with the initial Looney Tunes purge from HBO Max, lying to us by saying it was just a routine maintenance check, playing us all for patsies. But that's old news now, especially since now the classic Looney Tunes shorts are streaming on Tubi, and have recently been reported as one of the fast-paced streaming channel's top 10 highest performing series. I'm not surprised by this at all. Back when HBO Max first began streaming the classic Looney Tunes in the summer 2020 and then added even more of that autumn, they were getting such high viewership there. even more so than the classic Walt Disney cartoon shorts in Disney Plus, but of course they only have kind of a small amount there. But compared to HBO Max, Tubi is better because it's free, even if you have to deal with annoying commercials. Warner Bros. Discovery and Tubi knew those classic Warner Bros. Cartoons are such a viable property in their library. And with HBO Max phasing out content aimed at kids and families, it seemed only natural they let Tubi have the streaming license for them. It's a great success, after already streaming several Hanna-Barbera shows and Tom and Jerry and related MGM theatrical cartoons. And the Looney Tunes currently being such a viable property to Warner Bros. Discovery are likely one reason why they won't let Paramount Skydance buy them out. Likely for fear that they'd end up burying and neglecting the Looney Tunes the way Paramount did so with the Terry Tunes for a long time. Even if just after the Skydance merger, they just started remastering the Terry Tunes for airing on MeTV Tunes. But unlike Paramount, still mostly relying on their newer animated hot properties like South Park and SpongeBob SquarePants, Warner Bros. Discovery has a huge library of legacy properties, like the aforementioned Looney Tunes, the DC Comics stuff, Tom and Jerry and the other MGM cartoons, and the Hanna-Barbera characters and libraries, and more, in addition to the Cartoon Network originals that there are now fewer of, unfortunately. Similarly, Comcast Universal also still tends to focus more on their newer animated properties, especially the ones they own through DreamWorks Animation and Illumination, or stuff like The Land Before Time. But they still do tend to put time aside to remaster and distribute the classic cartoon properties they own, such as the Walter Lantz cartoons, as well as Classic Media's library. So there is a chance, if Comcast does buy Warner Brothers, they may start neglecting those older Warner cartoon characters and properties. But then again, there's also the theme park possibilities I talked about in my past vlog. The way they were planning such a Looney Tunes land and DC Comics land over 30 years ago that didn't get anywhere. Anyways, the point is, Warner Bros. Discovery is still going to go through their corporate dividing no matter what, set to be finalized in April 2026. And after that, there may or may not be a buyout of at least one of those assets. But the thought of all those takeovers is a little nerve-wracking, combined with my having to get ready for this upcoming Halloween weekend. Once again, I'm also reminding you I still have a Ko-Fi and accepting tips if you're more than willing to be generous, with the link in the video description. So anyways, have a happy Halloween, and stay tuned to this channel for any further updates from Zach and me.